I was thinking the other day about the history of grace and how things got started. It goes all the way back really to when we were getting ready to come to Thailand as missionaries. Our mission approached us and asked us if we would come to Thailand. We were en route for Papua New Guinea. We didn't feel that's what we wanted to do at that point, although the Lord had other plans, and so we turned them down. Probably 2 or 3 weeks later they approached us again and we turned them down, and the third time we finally thought, well, maybe this is the Lord asking us to come here. So we gave them a 1-year commitment to come to Thailand to start a small little school for missionary children of New Tribes Missions children. And so we did that, and we came out and got the school started. And after the first year, I tried to resign, and they said, well, could you hang on for another year? Well, this went on for about 2 or 3 years, and finally we realized the Lord had us here in Thailand. After a period of time, we moved more to administration, overseeing the school as it grew. Other missions started knocking on our door saying, can we put our kids in your school? And it was interesting to see along the way how time after time we would get in a position to where we were facing the impossible. We didn't know what to do, and God would step in and He would provide. It was probably in the late 1980s. I had hoped to see this school open up, and didn't know what it would look like altogether, but I wanted it to be a multi-mission school that would be here as a hub to support missionaries in all of Southeast Asia. There was no school like that at that point that could really do what we were hoping to see happen in the school. But we went to the government. I pulled together a few different missions and talked to them. They said they'd be interested, but the government turned us down and we couldn't do it. As time went on, a few years later, we tried again and they turned us down a second time. But then as we got into the mid-1990s, there was much changing in Asia, here in Thailand, and God was doing a number of things in the hearts of us as well. That's when Hong Kong was going back to China at that point. So we saw a huge influx of missionaries and workers coming here to Chiang Mai. And so I made another approach on it. Probably it was in 1996 when I first stepped out and asked our mission for a 2-year leave of absence and started working on the project and started laying out what it would look like. I visited schools all over Southeast Asia to a number of MK schools there, gathering information, and came back and put together basically the core values, financial statements, applications, all these things. And then I approached the missions and said, would your mission like to join a project like this? And boy, they came on fast. Within a matter of weeks, we had 12 missions. So in 1998, the year before the school opened, we established the board. And then we had to find a facility. Boy, was that a challenge. We probably looked at dozens and dozens of facilities all over the Chiang Mai area. We looked at properties, we got out and gathered and joined hands and prayed over the properties. But it just seemed the Lord was not opening the door to anything. And finally, with about 4 months left before the school opened, we found this Mitsubishi dealership that we could convert into. They had gone under, and we were going to convert that into a school, and it would have taken major renovations to make that happen. And the day we went to sign the contract, the owners jacked the price up by $1,000 a month. Well, we weren't happy with that, so we asked for another day. And I went back to my house with Mike Christian, who was with Campus Crusade for Christ. We went back to his house, sat around the table, and I remember telling Mike, I said, you know, I just expected that the Lord would do something better for us. And as we prayed about it, we said, but if this is what the Lord has for us, let's go with this. So we decided we'd sign that contract the next day. Well, about an hour later, we got a call from a businessman here in town, Mr. Thomasak. And he said, Mr. Foltz, I'd like to put my children in your school. And I said, well, I think it would probably work. Let's fill out some applications and get moving. He said, where will the school be? So I told him the story about the Mitsubishi dealership. And as we talked, he said, have you signed a contract yet? And I said, no, not at this point we haven't. And he says, good, come see my facility first. Well, he had a beautiful, one of the nicest sports facilities in Southeast Asia at that time. Swimming pool, tennis courts, lots of rooms for classrooms. And he said, what was the price that they were going to charge you before they jacked up the price? So I told him the price, and he said, well, you can have this facility for that price. It was 10 times as beautiful, needed far less renovation. And isn't that the way God just supplies? God stepped in and He supplied a wonderful facility. Well, little did we know that they were moving towards bankruptcy, and 2 years later, as they went under, we were able to sit down with the finance company that owned that facility and purchase that facility. It was worth millions and millions of dollars for $1.2 million. And we were deeply blessed by that. And it turned out to be a great facility for the last 17 years. But now we're at a position where we're growing, we're continuing to grow, we need a larger facility. And so we're stepping out by faith again. to see God do something special. We don't know what He's got in mind, but we've got property. We've got the property ready. We're looking to Him to see how He's going to provide for, say, the next 17 years and what He's going to do. But we've seen God time and time again be faithful to provide for a school here that's serving probably the greater missions community for Southeast Asia. We've got missionaries from all the countries surrounding Thailand here, and it's a great hub for helping the missionary feel secure in the work that he's doing here in this region. So thank you much for your prayers and participation with Grace International School.